Well, since we're on Rise of the Duelist, then why don't we talk about your favorite new? What was it? Your words were it'll be like the new invoked engine, the free card engine, the
Aye.
Duelist,
So,
Albus, Nullus, Thullus. Is that
yep.
I pronounced
So
that right?
Dragma is okay. I don't see Dragma. I see Dragma being a rogue deck, but Albus, um, for anyone who's uneducated, means its name is like bastard child or something. Um, but or unwanted child to a degree. But like for anyone who actually can Google like me, because I was like, what does this mean? Um, it's a good card, and I think it's going to be very much like Alistair. And was it last night, Lithium 2300 put up a Shadol invoked Albus deck. And remember, like you were there, like I was saying to these guys yesterday morning when it was yesterday morning when I seen it, I was like,
Uh,
this thing is with invoked automatically right away.
uh,
Not the same good at the game, but
well, like
like
for everyone that hasn't maybe read it, its
it's a
effect.
three.
The effect reads: if this card is normal or special summoned, you can discard one card, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using the cards on the field and monsters your opponent control as fusion material,
Mhm.
and you only use it once
So
per turn.
I was looking at this yesterday, and I was saying as I was saying about it being like a three card engine. So the spell or trap, whatever you want.
What was it,
Um,
Dad?
so the spell and trap. So the spell is a searcher, and the trap is a like monster reborn slash summon from the hand. Aye. So
Yeah.
you need to get this.
Okay.
So one of them searches, one of them summons it, or it summons itself, and then you use it with everything else to summon the.
Aye, here I
Uh,
have the two of them here, which is the spell you're on about was Disciple of Nadir, and it's send
Anaderia.
one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, comma, then add one Draga monster or one Aldous, the Nihilus Famous, from the deck or graveyard to your hand with attack less than or equal to the sent monsters.
Yeah.
For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the extra deck. And
Mm.
the trap you're on about is, funny enough, is Dragma Encounter,
Yeah.
and it two effects. Activate one of these effects. It's a normal trap card. You can either special summon one Drachma monster or one Aldous, the Nullus Fumus, from your hand, or take one Drachma monster or one Aldous from your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it.
Yeah. So it's really good, and I think because you can kind of set it up. See, this is another thing I was thinking about last night. You can set it up to make a control deck, and I know a lot of people might be a bit iffy about that, but outside of like Shaddoll Invoked, you can actually make something very similar to like Tree Draco with this. Bear with me. So because you have a spell card and a trap card that kind of does everything for you, like so you have access to it whatever you do. You also can use stuff like duality because it's the trap card allows you to summon it on your opponent's turn. So you don't really need to worry about like using duality or like mathematician or things that can kind of get you to it. Then you summon it on your opponent's turn, get rid of a monster, negate a monster. If they get rid of it, you get the search then on the end of your opponent's turn, and you kind of just repeat.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I was thinking about it because like the thing about it is when it comes to Disciple of Nadir, it locks you out from summoning from the extra deck. So if you activate a Disciple, a Duality, you like summon a Mathematician, you set Dragman counter. You're literally doing everything on your opponent's turn, and you can play it like people play like Invoked, where you just run 8 hand traps, you know,
I mean,
and,
like,
and and not care.
you,
Mm.
what I was saying is the extra deck restriction, just to add to that, isn't really a restriction because from the look of the archetype, it's all about either hating on the extra deck or taking absolute abuse of the extra deck,
Yeah,
which
Mm.
I think adds to your point that you think it'll be a rogue deck at best,
Hmm.
because I mean, like the way it comes to like extra deck hate, the decks that do it or the archetypes that do it tend to fall into one or two categories. They're either really competitive rogue decks that maybe take down a couple of events and get hit on the ban list unjustly a lot of the time, or they fall out of favor really quickly and become a really good anti-meta strategy
Yeah.
that is maybe tier two. I'm all about that. It's similar to back in the day with full power Necros, full power Monarchs. It reminds me of that, but I'll have to see how it actually plays
Hmm.
before I can make an assessment on how good. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying in theory,
But that's
but I
just one
haven't seen
thing.
much of it.
You know, the other,
Right,
the
like,
other, the other
my
thing I
opinion on it is I actually think it and actually its own thing in Dragma will be really powerful as a whole. Like, not using it as a control aspect. I do see where it'll be used even in the Dragma kind of, like, if you're going to build this like as a full thing, where
yeah.
it'll still be used as that control aspect, especially with encounter and special summon. But I think that mixing it with the hand traps and all there, yes, good control way to go. But just for generic all round, I kind of do think keeping it with all the Dragma
Y- Yeah.
cards
Drachma.
will be better for it. Aye,
The thing
and
about that though is you
stronger.
have to look. The thing about that is you have to look at striker, and because the way lore wise they're both the same. You've got the good side, the obligatory good side, bad side. So you've got Dragma against Albus, and you've got Ray against Rose. So Rose is good in the deck, but only as like a one or two of. But like they're there to fight against each other. Which like if you have it lore wise, you shouldn't be able to really use Albus in the deck because the deck's meant to like the Dragmas are meant to be fighting against it. So
Mm.
I think it's going to be very similar. If you're going to play it, if you're going to play Albus and Dragma, you'll be playing it as a one of, you know, because the rest of
I
the deck kind of doesn't help. Like it doesn't help the deck. It's the same way as Rose. Rose doesn't really help Striker. It's kind of okay, but it doesn't do anything.
I'd
You
like
know.
to
So
I'd like to chime in again. I get what you're saying, and in principle, I agree with you about the whole obligatory good bad thing. And I can even see where you're talking about Albus maybe being a one of. I agree with that, but there have been incidents before, lore wise. I'm not really big into the lore myself, but lore wise in themed decks or archetypes, there has been that sort of duality in decks that have been so powerful as individual cards that you run them together, even though they sort of nerf each other in one way or the other. The classic example I'm thinking of is Monarchs with Ether and Erebus. Erebus doesn't get his effect when he's special summoned off of Ether, but they're both that good together. You run them both together at 3 if possible, because the upside with special summoning Erebus and him not getting his effect to banish something is the fact that if he survives the end of the turn, he goes into your hand to be tribute summon the next turn, possibly on your opponent's turn if you
mhm.
have some shenanigans on the go. But
Yeah.
I think it's really 50-50 with an archetype that has that duality, whether or not they're both meant for the same deck, especially in the same ratios. Like, I'm trying to think of another example from more recent times. Uh, well, no, Striker, as you say, would be one of the examples I would go to. And now Dragma. It's just, I'm interested to see, like, obviously people are going to mess around with ratios because,
Mhm.
you know, that's where half the creativity comes from. Playing two of something instead of three or something, or one of something or none of something. Those little things could make the deck more consistent, more powered, have more streamlined plays. But at present, from looking at it, I think the conservative thing is to say it's a one of, but you never know. People could play three of it and have it be amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
But
the
that's
other
on
thing
it.
with it
That's
as well, like, well, what you were saying earlier,
but
Jacob, like the fact that this thing on the end phase can search the fusion as a whole is better almost as a 3 of than the fusion spell itself. Because you just send it to the
Yeah.
graveyard via, say, the field spell or the monsters, and then on the end phase get the search. But then you've also access to things like,
Yeah.
because I was saying to Chris there today, the Dragma stuff is brilliant in a ritual deck because you send things like
I
Herald
have heard.
Mm.
and things like that
Yeah.
that you know, and then you could Zaborg your opponent, fill both your graveyards up with extra deck monsters. You know, it almost feels like Dragma wants to go the way of the Monarchs, where it's kind of like Monarchs
Uh,
meet Invoked in terms of how they play off each other.
let's
And
talk
it
about like
suits
I
the
know we were
Superstars.
kind of just brushing up there on like my wee thing with Albus, but like I think Dragoma is good because for one, Maximus is absolutely ridiculous, and like to have a monster that you just kind of plop out for no reason that gets rid of stuff like its effect, you know,
I'm a free
send two to
one.
send. I was like send two to send two. That's fine, but it's what you're sending. Like you can send, as you're saying, you can send like Herald, you can send Elder Entity Intis, you can send um like whatever. Like you've got a few cards.
Versatility cards that can
Yeah, you've
actually
got a
play
few
out.
cards. Yeah, a few cards that'll work. You know, you have other cards that you could kind of abuse as well because there is no restriction on it. So I'm trying to think of
But like,
something that you could.
you can only use Magnus once per turn.
Yeah, but like I'm
Really,
thinking of anything that you
once
could.
per turn.
Thinking what you could abuse with it. Like something. Is there any archetypes that kind of need their fusions in the graveyard?
Shaddolls.
Well, yeah, sure.
ABC to an extent with certain builds.
Invoked to an extent.
It depends like how you're
Heroes to an extent.
determining that.
But like Maximus is really good. I'll go through them here. So the big guy
Like, well,
Cardinal.
I have them up in front of me here.
So Cardinal's absolutely terrible because you're never going to summon it.
No, but to
Fleur
be
de
fair,
Lis.
Blair is actually quite good.
Fleur de Lis is ridiculously good.
It's the fact that
Like,
someone is on either player's turn.
do you know what do you know what Fleur de Lis reminds me of? It reminds me of Witchcraft or Golem.
Yes.
Mm.
You know, and that was my first thought. I was like, Fleur de Lis could be kind of ran on Witchcrafter if you really wanted it.
Hmm.
Dragma's good. Theo is bad. Ecclesia is amazing. Adon is okay, but it's
Who
field
wants to
spell.
pronounce
Good.
the big level 11's name?
Oh, Tetradragmaton. Yes,
The Heart of
To be fair,
Darkness.
Shield spell I actually do really like for this archetype.
it's really good. It is really
Like,
really good.
it's like the fact it comes built in with the neither player can target the Dragma monsters while a monster that was special on for the X deck is there. It's just like that is it's just so good in ability.
It's base
Just
protection, and it's base protection if you're going first because it's kind of it reminded me on um what do they call it? There's a field spell that does basically a similar thing. I'm gonna find it. I'm actually gonna find it. Give me 2 seconds. It's gonna annoy me.